So yeah, what are your thoughts about the difficult experiences and like the lessons, or should we just try to avoid them, or what?
It's good. There's lots of thoughts around this. Oh, damn. I don't know where to start. So 3 different buckets of this,
Okay.
right? One being we can choose how to perceive our experiences. So in retrospect, I would say all of my challenging experiences have been beneficial to some degree. I could learn something from them. Did I inflict unnecessary suffering on myself? Yes, to a certain degree. But then there are these really tough and challenging experiences. For example, my recent ayahuasca retreats, it's been one of my most challenging trips. Just struggling and suffering. But it wasn't necessarily bad. This is what I would call and categorize as a really challenging experience. And from those, usually I find that I grow the most out of these. Even back then with the spiritual emergency and the crisis, it's been one of the most spiritually rewarding experiences of my life. And I seem to see the pattern with other experiences that have been really extreme and challenging as well, that those have been transformative in a very beneficial sense. As I was doing the integration work, kind of like, and really taking the time to process these and learn from them. So huge potential there. You could also just have the challenging experience and not integrate.
Mm-hmm.
So this is kind of like a beautiful category, and also what is commonly known kind of like in the psychedelic space as, oh, there are no bad trips. Mm-hmm. But I would say, yes, there are also bad trips. There's a beautiful talk by Terence McKenna, I think it's called Bad Trips. And then Terence McKenna, you might find a video from We Plants Are Happy Plants or something. Mm-hmm. He's got this, and he said, right, it's like, what did he say? He said like a bad trip makes bad sex seem like a joke, like nothing. It's like a bad trip, it's bad. It's right. really bad. I haven't had too many of those, but I remember a friend of mine back then when I was still early on in the experiences. I was sharing it with my best friend, and we had a beautiful experience, LSD. And then he was like, "Yeah, let me share this with my friend as well." And so I invited him, completely overdosed him on 200 mics of acid for the first experience. Didn't make sure that he was properly prepared. I sent him some stuff, and then he didn't watch that. And so he was completely freaking out, like a bad trip, like it's in the books, running around naked in my apartment, smashing through screens and almost like playing around with really dangerous stuff almost. I had to call the ambulance, and for me, it was a very valuable lesson and learning. I could even see his kind of like ego resisting the present moment and the experience. So for me, it was really interesting. I guess for him, it was a bad experience. He didn't, as far as I kind of like understand, really learn from that. I'll have to check back in with him, but he moved on. It was like, oh no, that's not for me. And then that was a bad experience in the frame of his mind. So there are, and then there's just stupid stuff that can happen. There's just like, I've been in some sketchy situations, just really sketchy situations. For example, I remember like some situations which can play out physically harmful. And as we mentioned, the physical dangers, people telling me stories that they're playing around with bow and arrow and then almost shooting themselves, or I've been in the mountains of Brazil and my friend got lost and he almost kind of like died, and that's real stuff. Or my one ayahuasca experience I had where I felt like I was in a cult-like setting, and I drank the aya, and it was not a safe space, and the ayahuasca even showed me and made me paranoid that this is wrong practice, and they were preaching during the ceremony about capitalism and their kind of like beliefs systems, and it was just horrible. It was just absolutely horrible. I didn't learn anything from this other than carefully choose your facilitator. So there's bad experiences from which I don't learn that much.
Right.
And then regarding the dark stuff and the darker, deeper shadow stuff and the twisted visions that are sometimes confusing and we don't really know what to do with them afterwards, I find those really interesting. So actually, this relates not just to the dark stuff, but also to the beautiful stuff. Recently, in my journeying and in my integration, I've kind of come to the place of realization and insight which I'll still kind of like, I'm still working on in my mind and taking that forward. The teaching of detachment, basically, from lots of Buddhist kind of like traditions. They say they really teach the teaching of detaching from any appearance of reality whatsoever. And so I came up with what I call the dance of detached appreciation. Can you still hear me? Yeah, okay. My screen was lagging. The dance of detached appreciation. And I see psychedelic as a training ground for practicing the dance of detached appreciation. So in psychedelic space, what I try to do nowadays is I try to see it as a spiritual practice. And basically I do that by not attaching to any appearance or experience that is unfolding, neither the blissful ones nor the dark ones, but still fully appreciating and loving them unconditionally and fully. And then it gets really interesting because it gets really hard to do that when you see really dark stuff, or you're really in for a loop, or there's also the most angelic, ecstatic, cosmic orgasm experience. Still staying in that which is beyond the experience, and not identifying with that experience, not holding on to that experience. Because inevitably I found on my journeying that if I identify and hold on to these experiences, I'm suffering. I'm not progressing spiritually. I in my mind, it creates judgment as the psychedelic state is better than my ordinary state. It's somehow more real. I prefer to be in this blissful state. And it creates these judgments, which are throwing me backwards. So, and then I'm attaching to the bliss, and like, oh, hopefully when I go into this journey now, there's going to be the infinite love, you know. It's like, I want to go back to the infinite love. And I don't like the dark visions. I don't like the dark stuff. I don't like the alien shit or whatever. It's like, no, it's a practice now for me to kind of like embrace it all, appreciate it all, but also detach from it all. So this is kind of like what I've been coming to. And then the psychedelic also, it's not even utilized anymore for me for self-actualization and self-realization, because then the psychedelic experience itself is not a means to an end anymore, but an end in and of itself. Just as meditation, I'm not sitting down to meditate to then be one day enlightened. No, I'm enjoying the process of sitting. I'm sitting and I'm fully present with the experience, whatever, with the boredom, with the joy, with the sadness, with the anger, with the happiness. Let's say all of it. And so this is kind of like my take at the moment towards these darker experiences as well, to just see them and appreciate them, not hold on to them, meet them with curiosity, just like, oh, what's this? Oh, what's that? And that's where I'm at the moment.
That's great. I love that, man. I appreciate you sharing that, because I'm going to take that, I'm going to put it in my pocket and remember that.